Hello, ladies. So we spoke about simulation and simulacra theory given by Jean Baudrillard in the previous video, and there we looked at how it can be approached from a postmodern perspective of trying to understand how these dominant social media platforms, where images have a huge control, a huge amount of popularity in the society, end up creating a simulated hyper reality world for us, right? And as consumers, we end up living in a society where we are constantly falling prey to such hyper real situations, and we are getting caught up in a simulated lifestyles where we start believing that getting a job in a corporate world is the American dream, which is now the Indian dream, and then having enough money to go blow up all the frustration and all the pressure of having worked at your 9 to 5 jobs at a pub or at a discotheque, and having like that kind of space where you are able to live the hyper real life, which you start believing is the way to live. And that's what most of these like IT professionals are doing today, right? Living the simulated dream. The same concept of hyper reality, Jean Baudrillard's simulation and simulacra, has been extended by these two gentlemen, Boorstin and Debord, right? Boorstin, Daniel Boorstin, and Guy Debord, Guydebord, right? Boorstin first talks about the entire theory put together. Now, they have both worked separately and they have both presented their concepts in two different works. However, both of the theories have been put together, and the theory is known as the image of the spectacle, right? Boorstin's work is called The Image. That's the name under which he's published his work. And Guy Debord has published it as The Spectacle. So, image of the spectacle. This is the combination of both the theories, right? In fact, the theory of the spectacle is taken from Guy Debord's book called The Society of the Spectacle. Now, quickly making this theory very, very simple for you, the image and the spectacle, both of them are talking about one common thing, the power of visual imagery, right? And when I was explaining to you guys in the first video that I uploaded on YouTube for you guys, pardon me, not in such a great state of health, when I uploaded the first video for you guys, I made it very clear to you that postmodernism is primarily targeted at the digital media, right? And when we talk about digital media today, we are mainly looking at one big keyword called social media platforms. And what is the one most important social media platform that you can think of in the current day situation? Instagram. Why is Instagram such a popular medium? Because of its visual prowess, right? Instagram is that one medium where you don't want to really read the text as much as you want to see the visuals. And anybody's profile you notice on Instagram, you'll see that they have chosen their best photographs, and they have this whole dreamy fairy tale like photographs uploaded, even if they're eating at some shady restaurant. Let's say they're eating at a roadside hotel and probably eating fish curry or something. The angles, the filters and everything, they make it look like it's a fancy cuisine from a 5-star restaurant, and then they give it a very like shady caption, probably like a philosophical quote, and it just becomes the entire image is taken to a whole new level. This is the spectacle, right? The image of the spectacle. What is a spectacle? When we are mind blown by the imagery that we see, right? You have probably come across so many such images that you've seen and you're like, wow, this is amazing, and most of that kind of reaction comes on these social media platforms, right? Everybody for some reason becomes a photographer or a photograph enthusiast, and everybody is so passionate about imagery and stuff like that. Now, When the theory, the image of the spectacle was proposed, they were primarily trying to look at how the visual images can be used to create what Boorstin calls pseudo events. PSEUDO, pseudo events. What is pseudo event? An event that is given the kind of dramatic, exaggerated effect just through visuals, through imagery. Very good example for us to differentiate between a regular standard event and a pseudo event is your test cricket match and your IPL. For IPL or for your T20, especially a league match like an IPL, for that to become really popular and really colorful, you use like fireworks, the jerseys are jazzy, the stadium is decorated like hell. I mean, I have been lucky enough to watch 2 RCB matches in Chinnaswamy Stadium, and even before you enter the stadium, you have that festive atmosphere, right? An atmosphere where everybody's wearing the jersey, everybody's cheering, the roof is filled with, can you please do it later? The roof is filled with such like vibrant decorations. There's like flags everywhere, and on each seat there is an RCB flag, so you can see whether you like it or not, you're just waving it, and there's such a festive atmosphere. As soon as you enter, the visuals captivate us, and that's not the same with test match. I have also been lucky enough to appear as an audience, as a spectator for a test match, India and Australia, and it is very boring. You don't even get food. I mean, the only food that we could manage to get was if we went all the way to the canteen and they had bhel puri, right? That was our lunch for that day, and a test match is a 5-day thing. We didn't even go for the rest of the game. We were so bored. There was absolutely no audience, and we ended up buying the tickets because the tickets were cheaper, right? So the visuals and the spectacle and the pseudo event is not as appealing as an IPL match, which is what probably also takes away the charm from a test match. And test match truly is just about the game, about cricket as a game, whereas your IPL match, on the other hand, is more about the money, it's about the audience, it's about the popularity, it's about a lot of other things that go beyond the cricket game as such. So this could be a great example of a pseudo event. And as I was mentioning in the previous video that I had uploaded for you guys, I spoke to you about Jean Baudelard's argument about the World Trade Centers being attacked, right? And I also spoke to you about how this was a simulated scenario created by the Americans to firstly the 3 steps. If you watched the movie that I asked you to watch, please watch it if you haven't watched it, Zeitgeist. There are 3 levels in which it works. The first level is to just create an atmosphere of sympathy for themselves, which is basically what they did. Secondly, to create rage in the American population. Thirdly, to increase their economy using these strategies of war on terrorism. If you guys are following the news, especially what you see on Al Jazeera and stuff, you will probably notice that most of the war on terrorism after effects are still being experienced in these Gulf countries, and there's nobody who can point, not even United Nations of organization can put their fingers down and say, okay, what you did was wrong. So talking about these pseudo events that are created for a sort of a dreamy, exaggerated situation for us to consume, these are referred to by Guy Debord as non-events. Why do they call it non-events? Because these events have absolutely no meaning when it comes to the truest sense of what is being done. For example, the IPL, it takes away the truest sense of the game of cricket. But who loves watching test matches for 5 days when you can finish the game in 20 overs and 40 overs, and then just go back home knowing the results and celebrating, or going back home in sorrow, right? This entire thing about non-events when it comes to mass production of pseudo events on mass media. Guy Debord and Boostin talk about how all of this is going to be creating a world filled with imagery that is full of shit. Right? I mean, they don't use the word shit, but that's what they mean. We are living in a world where most of the things you see on Instagram or most of the things you see on any other social media platform or your mass media sources like your television and newspapers, the photographs, right? They are so carefully, so precisely constructed for our consumption that we live in a world that is purely simulated, right? And this simulated imagery that we are going to be a part of is a part of the spectacle that Guy Debord is talking about, right? For example, when I wanted to join Pondicherry University for Masters, one thing that I noticed was the photograph on the brochure. I'm sure Shuli might remember me having told this story earlier. On the brochure of the Pondicherry University, there is a huge photograph right on top, right? So there's a board of the campus, it says Pondicherry University, there's a small road, and then there's the beach. That's exactly how the picture is presented. It's Photoshop. There's no such thing where there's a beach right outside the university. You have to walk a little, but that image was so beautiful that I was entrapped. I mean, there were three other options, JNU, Jamia and HCU, but I picked Pondi mainly because of this stupid photo and also because of the low tax alcohol masters level. These are the kind of things you look for, right? So this is the kind of pseudo event that people start to create. I don't know if you guys have been to Tamil Nadu, but in Tamil Nadu, during weddings, naming ceremonies and funerals and stuff, they put up these huge hoarding boards, and these hoarding boards are amazing. Like recently I witnessed a hoarding board where Sachin Tendulkar and A.R. Rahman are giving their wishes, photoshopped, not real, wishes to the bride and groom, right? And all the other friends are standing with them, and it says happy married life. I mean, that was the shittiest photo I've ever seen. Sachin is, I mean, he's not even looking at the groom. I mean, they could have picked a better photograph, but they chose a very bad pixelated photo. So you have these two people, A.R. Rahman and Sachin, in their pixelated forms, and then all the other people posing in like their brand new clothes. And even the sizes were not matching. It was a very badly photoshopped image. But this kind of a spectacle is what people here in Tamil Nadu are looking for, right? So when we are talking about such pseudo events, one of the things that we'll need to remember is how, as we are getting caught up in the pseudo events, Guy Debord calls us this entire situation as a spectacle that creates image capital. What is an image capital? How all these images are at some level making money. By posting a fancy photograph of you standing by the beach and eating maybe like really good looking lobsters at a fancy restaurant, you are probably not making any money, but there is somebody else who's making money out of the post that you have put. If nobody, it's Instagram, right? Instagram as a platform is making money. Facebook as a platform is making money. And the only way that they can make money is by creating you guys into these people who are going to earn image capital for them. And these images that you guys post with these filters and all the time you take, I'm sure you guys are probably not like that, but there are people I have seen, there are people I have met who take a lot of time into deciding what photograph to put, into deciding what kind of filter to apply, deciding how much cropping, everything. I mean, they deal with their photographs so clinically. I know of people who have looked at a photograph, who have wanted to upload it and have kept the desire to upload it in their hearts for a really, really long time, and waiting for the right opportunity. And it's like that itch in the back of their head, you know, like, when do I upload such a cool photo? This is, look at the background, I am wearing a nice dress, and I mean, like, this is such an epic photo, people need to see this, and I have to make the world like look at this image of mine. And I mean, that's the kind of obsession that people have with respect to these image capitals, right? And another thing that they constantly keep talking about is how the spectacle that you're trying to create has to be exaggerated. Has to. You will never ever want to put up a photograph of yourself just out of the bed. That's not acceptable. That's a crime in the world of Instagram. You have to be wearing really nice clothes. You should be like, I mean, there are some people who put hashtag no makeup and all that. That's such bullshit. That's absolute crap. And there are some people who put no filters. I mean, to some extent that is okay to look at, but you can still see that the exaggerated effects are still there in the photograph. Now, all of this ultimately culminates into one thing, a simulated world, which is what we are going to be breaking our heads about in the world of postmodernism, right? A lot of simulation, a lot of hyper reality, and this theory is only an extension of what Jean Baudrillard has already presented in the name of simulation and simulacra. There he was not really emphasizing on simulacra as much. Here they are trying to define the simulacra using visual capital. Right? I hope that's clear. Any doubts? Sunday we are having a live session, so we can catch up.